For your viewing pleasure, this broadcast of the Municipal Council meeting of Alpena is made possible by the funding provided by the City of Alpena. Thank you for your generosity.
Good evening. Welcome to Alpena City Council meeting of August 6, 2018. Call the order, please.
Hess.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Nielsen.
Here.
Nowak.
Here.
And Walagora.
Here. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any modifications to the agenda this evening? Approval of the minutes for open and closed sessions of July 16, 2018, and open and closed sessions of July 27, 2018. Any questions or comments from issues? Errors? Thank you. Citizens appearing before council on agenda and non-agenda items are allowed 5 minutes each to address your concerns. If you'd like to do so, please come to the podium and state your name and address for our records. And this is the only time during the council meeting this evening that you're allowed to address the council. On the consent agenda this evening, bills to be allowed in the amount of $531,495.39.
I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Susan. Hess.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Nielsen.
Yes.
Nowak.
Yes.
And Walagora.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Okay, we have a presentation this evening. This is the 100th year of the Alpena City Band, so we will recognize them this evening. I've got a quick history of a few fine points of the band itself. In 1918, under the sponsorship of the City of Alpena, the Alpena Home Guard Band is created with 20 musicians. Ed Gray serves as the director. In 1920, the name of the band is changed to the Alpena Board of Commerce Band. A nice note is that in 1923, the band travels by train to California to attend the Legionnaires Convention. The band performs a concert every time the train needs to stop for water. While in San Francisco, the band is invited to tour and perform on the USS Arizona. 1926, the band determines its final name to be the Alpena City Band. In 1955, having played on the movable bandstand, the band is provided a permanent bandstand constructed behind City Hall. Attendees had the option of listening to music outdoors or from their vehicles. In 1954, the first woman becomes a member of the band. In 1988, through the support and effort of the community organizations, individuals, the Alpena City Band, a new band shell becomes a reality at Bayview Park. The shell, maintained by the city, serves Alpena City Band and other organizations. In 1994, July 21st, is proclaimed Alpena City Band Day by Mayor Bill LaHaye in recognition of the band's previous 75 years of service to the community. And this year, they celebrate their 100th season. So I have a certificate of appreciation for them, and some of the band is shown up today. This says Alpena City Band in recognition of 100 years of dedicated service, education, opportunities, diplomacy, and entertainment to the citizens of the city of Alpena and far beyond from 1918 to 2018. Congratulations and thank you from a very grateful community.
We're really thankful for the year that we've had this year. We are finalizing our season this Thursday with our celebration concert, and we have some really neat things coming this year. One of the things we'll be doing is, of course, our Mayor Pro Tem, Ms. Johnson, will be there with us, which we're really excited about. We'll also be having Jim Stanis, our state senator, will be here to present us with a governor's proclamation. We'll be having the Northern Winds Brass Quintet will be playing our special guest, along with the city band playing 6 of our favorite songs that we've done through the year. And then another thing that's pretty exciting is that we were able, through the Youth and Recreation Grant, we were given some money to a grant to have a piece actually written especially for our occasion by John Schubert. We commissioned him to write a piece called the Thunder Day March. We'll be premiering that on Thursday night. And we're also, John Schubert is the director of the Rogers City Band, and he'll be bringing some of his members to partake in our concert with us. So it's been a wonderful year. We've had great support from the community, wonderful sponsorship, and many grants that we've been awarded for this season, and we're really excited for that. We're going to take the city up here for that.
All right, next up, announcements. Tuesday, August 7th, which is tomorrow, 2018 is the primary election. Did you have anything else on that? Or just steal your thunder?
Yes.
Sorry.
Vote.
Please vote.
Please vote. Okay, down to the report of officers. A is Council Policy Statement 58, property tax exemption and other property. Oh, other than poverty, I'm sorry.
In early August, the city will be undergoing its 5-year audit of minimum assessing requirements, or AMAR, by the State Tax Commission. And in fact, I think it's occurring this week, or at least starting. In reviewing the list of items the STC will be reviewing, Alan Berg, the city's assessing services contractor, noted that the city does not have a policy on the process for approving, denying, or revoking property tax exemptions for nonprofits or institutional entities that may qualify under state law. The failure to have such a policy in place would result in an audit finding. Consequently, with Alan's assistance, the attached CPS 58 was drafted for your consideration. Staff recommends that it be approved. Staff will be working with Alan in the preparation of the application form and other documents necessary for its implementation. So it's really just kind of a house cleaning for something that we need and should have been done before.
Did anybody find any issues with the policy or review?
I move we approve Council Policy Statement 58.
Second.
Bill, this is just a one-time, this is approval, we don't have to read this
Correct.
twice. or anything like
Correct.
that. It's policy. Okay, thank you.
Johnson?
Yes.
Nielsen?
Yes.
Nowak?
Yes.
Walagora?
Aye,
And Hess?
Yes.
Motion carried.
thank you. All right, B, under report of officers, designation of the city manager Greg Sundin as the voting delegate for the annual Michigan Municipal League business meeting held on September 21st, 2018, and designation of an alternate voting delegate.
I am not 100% sure I'm going to be going or not. I'm leaning towards it, but I'm also going to be gone about a week after that for a week, and so it just depends how, I got to look at the full schedule, but if somebody else is going and they're the alternate, if I don't go, then they can go to the meeting and be that voting member. So I don't know if any of the rest of you were looking to attend. It's a little different this year because it's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday morning conference in Grand Rapids.
The specific meeting that you need to be to is 3:45 on a Friday. It's-
Yeah, whatever time, I don't know. Yeah,
The
whatever
annual
they
meeting.
have the board. Last year I was the delegate, and I'm not sure they wanted me there because I asked a bunch of questions about certain topic before there were any votes or anything, so. But, yes, I did attend. It was interesting, but I don't know if any of the rest of you were gonna go. If not, then it would be just me, and hopefully I can go. Otherwise, we simply won't have any representation.
I hadn't planned on going, and I can go as an alternate in the event that Greg can't. I would probably just go down just for the specific meeting. and
At the
come back,
day,
so,
yeah. It's a long drive.
Unless somebody, is anyone else going?
I was interested, but I have a wedding that weekend that I need to be at, so, yeah.
I'm not gonna be able to.
So we can do that just to cover our
Okay.
bases.
Okay.
You as the.
I will try to see if I can, because that's a long drive to Grand Rapids, just for, what maybe is a half hour, 45-minute meeting, and then turn around and come back again, so. I'll go through my schedule here over the next week, and then.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I
I'll let
would
you
stay
know.
for the rest of the day, I would.
Oh, yeah, but it's a long drive. It's still a lot of
Yeah.
driving.
Why don't we do that just in the event
Okay.
that you
Nope,
can't make it?
that's fine.
So
I
Greg would be
appreciate it.
designated as the voting, what do they call it? The voting delegate,
Delegate.
and I would be the
Voting
alternate.
Yeah, and I have no idea what the business.
I'll look over
on
the schedule
business
of
is.
it. Maybe I would go for longer.
Okay, I move we designate city manager as a voting delegate for the annual MML business meeting and designate the mayor as the alternate.
Second.
Nielsen,
Yes.
Noak,
Yes.
Walagora,
Aye.
Hess,
Yes.
and Johnson.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Next up, city treasurer's quarterly financial report, April 1st through the June 30th of 2018.
Okay. So this is our fourth and final quarter of fiscal year 18. The report that I sent you is, it's not a true depiction of where we ended up, because none of the accruals have been done, none of the adjusting entries, none of the reversing entries. So at this point, it shows that we are $790,560 negative. If my totals are correct, I am expecting about $700,000 in revenue yet to be posted. So that's good. And expenditures, as you can see in the blue section on the right side, they're pretty close to budget or just under. Ambulance is a little bit over, and that was due to reducing the budget for salaries, and then ended up being more with overtime. So I think most of the expenses are in. I mean, we still do have some to accrue back, but I don't think we're gonna be this far off. So.
Yeah, I would say it looks like, based on what you just said, that initially, we thought we were gonna be close to break even. You know, just about this below. We may be,
Yeah.
sounds like here maybe $100,000 below, which is not too bad. I know the budget was, I think, for 400,000. I think the
I think so.
deficit, so it's still a big improvement with what everybody did. But we'll know better here in the next couple of months,
Yeah.
once we get everything.
We have received money for the splash park, but it just hasn't been posted yet. It will be.
And I think today we just got in officially a portion of MEDC money that's been dragging for many, many months. And the other one, I think Adam said, has been okayed, and we should have the final payment on that here this week, hopefully, by the end of the week. So that will all get accrued back to the previous fiscal year.
Sure. This isn't unusual. I mean, we've run into this before. We were waiting on payments and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, it's
That's-
like an
that's
every year
typical.
thing, so.
It may be a bit higher than normal, just because of the way a lot of these grants were falling and ending. Even the DNR grant for the splash pad and the Parker Bruins there, it didn't finish until, the end of June. So by the time you process a lot of those, it's getting into July and so we get the payments later. The MEDC one has just been a nightmare for Adam. And fortunately, we now seem to be through it. So that's big. The contractor's been paid, correct?
Yes.
And so that's done, and that's much better. So some of the work on the dog park, we do have all the money for that now. So that, was our investment plus what the original committee helped to raise. That's all there. So it's just been a little unusual, just the way the grants and the projects have ended that had created that.
No other questions?
She was
On
continuing.
the
I
second
interrupted.
page, the cash and investments. If you look in the fiscal year 18 column for water, you'll see it's negative 1,475,000. That is because sewer is always made whole. That was a process I guess was decided on a few years ago. Rich and I are gonna do some more checking into this and just make sure that we're on track once everything is settled with the township, that'll be rectified.
I actually thought it was because Steve hadn't paid his bill, and that's why we were short so much. Yeah, that pool is very expensive. Anything else?
Okay.
So I
Anything
think
else?
that's pretty much it.
Any questions or issues?
Our audit is gonna be, I think it's tentatively the week of October 8th. So once that is done, then obviously we'll know exactly where we're at.
Okay.
Need a receive and file on that?
Yes, please.
I move we receive and file.
Nowak?
Yes.
Walagora?
Aye.
Hess?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
And Nielsen?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. We were down to new business. A is a donation to the Alpena Dog Park. Rich Sullinger is here.
The city was approached by a local resident wishing to donate funding for the Alpena Dog Park. The individuals making the donation wish to remain in the background, but wish to make the donation in the name of one of their family members. The family would like to donate $25,000 for upgrades and improvements to the park and wish for it to be named after Thomas Stafford. In discussing this with these individuals, we indicated that we would like to use a portion of the funds for immediate improvements or upgrades to the park, and then establish a dedicated reserve fund with a balance of the funds for future repairs and upgrades. The donors were receptive to this concept. Council's unofficial policy has been to not name improvements after any living individual. Thomas Stafford is deceased, and thus council could name the park after him if so decided. Cindy Johnson sat in on the meeting with these donors and has the history of the Stafford family and Thomas Stafford. So city staff is requesting direction from city council on this request. If approved, the city would generate and install a plaque commemorating Mr. Stafford and the donation for the park, and establishing a reserve dedicated funding as indicated above. And the Staffords had residence on Fletcher Street in the vicinity of where the dog park was constructed. And that's what brought them forward to make this donation. So Cindy?
And I know that council had some questions when we first approached you about this. We did have a meeting with the two individuals who have helped us with the dog park, our Girl Scout and Alicia. Adam and I sat in on a meeting with them. We discussed with them about this. They have no issue naming the dog park after Thomas Stafford. They appreciate the donation, and it'll go a long way to maintenance in the park for years to come. So, and I can just give you a little bit of history about Thomas Stafford so you know. He was born in 1842 in Ireland. He immigrated to Canada before moving to Alpena. He married Elizabeth McDougall, and she was born in 1872. She died in 1943. He actually died in 1900 at 58 years of age. For 66 years, she lived on that site in the back end of the park. They had 9 children that they raised, and he was a general manager for F.W. Gilchrist. So he ran the local lumber business for him for many years, and he did well. And the money that they are giving is coming out of his trust. So, and it appears that the city acquired the property from Grace Gilchrist Fletcher in about 1977 from her will. The city paid about $70,000 for the property. When the city purchased the property, there was a deed still on the property. It appears that Gilchrist allowed like living as tenants. So if they were alive, they could live on the property. When they died, it reverted back to the Gilchrist Fletcher family. So when the city purchased the property, there was one living resident still, and the city paid them out for $4,000 so that they had free and clear the entire property. So that's the history. They were integral in the lumbering business in Alpena. So,
Very good.
Thank you
No.
for that information.
Yeah, thank you very much for the history and the information on that. Just speaking for myself, I think this is a fantastic idea. I'm very happy to receive the donation. I'm very happy because we, as a council, have always struggled with, we put a new piece in any park and how are we going to maintain, because every year we look at, budgets getting tighter and tighter. So I greatly appreciate that and have absolutely no issue in naming the park.
Very good.
and just so you know, there's a part of the park, and it's outside of the park. There's another family that gave a donation in memory of a loved one. So as you're walking into the park, there'll be a bench and a tree. There's another family that donated the monies to make that happen in memory of a loved one. That's outside of the park, but it is still part of the park because their loved one was a dog lover, so they wanted some recognition. That was outside of anything we raised funds for the dog park. But,
Excellent.
so you know.
Great. Very good. Move.
Do you want me to make them, or you
You
can
might,
go
you
ahead.
might guess if you want to.
Okay,
Done all the work.
Not really, but okay. I make a motion that we name the dog park on Fletcher Street, the Thomas Stafford dog park, in his memory.
Proud second.
Must
Yeah,
we
but we
also
should-
And
accept
accept
the
And accept the
And
donation
accept
of
the-
$25,000.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll second that.
Okay. Walagora?
Aye.
Hess?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Nielsen?
Yes.
And Noah?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Next up is the installation of a curb near 125 East Chisholm Street. Adam Hall,
Good evening.
can you explain?
All right. Staff was approached by Richard Gathier, owner of Salon 125, located coincidentally at 125 East Chisholm. They have requested that the curb and sidewalk between his building and the Sherwin-Williams building, but most important, affected one's Edward Jones, located at 119 East Chisholm, be raised to the height of the surrounding curb, eliminating access to an unneeded alley between the buildings. Mr. Gathier would pay for all related costs to these improvements, as it would allow for one or possibly two on-street parking spaces to be added in front of his business. Employees at Edward Jones and Sherwin-Williams indicated they do not use the alley for vehicular purposes. Any additional on-street parking would be appreciated. The alley is not a platted alley, but it is a separate unused access to the public parking lot located behind Salon 125. The current configuration of the parking space within the lot blocks any access that may be provided by this alley, and the alley is not utilized by either Salon 125 or Edward Jones. The GDA Parking Committee has reviewed the request and have no issue with the installation of the curb. And as it's a state trunk line, MDOT approval would be needed prior to any changes being made.
How long would you expect something like that would take? If there's approval this evening, is that years in the making?
Oh, no, it's nothing like that, but I mean, it should be minor, but Rich would probably have a better sense.
This fall, we'll be done this fall.
Okay, just kind of curious on that.
I've talked with Adam and Rich too, that, it's only, 10 or 12 feet wide. It's not very wide, so it's not something you'd be comfortable, unless you have a very small car. Is that maybe what we should do, and working with the DDA, is look at either putting like concrete pavers in there or stamped concrete lights on the building to actually make it a pedestrian walkway. So if people use that parking lot back there, they've got a nice way to get them up to Chisholm Street.
Sure.
And it'd be attractive, and then we could probably put, these helping noses, they've done in the past, we can put, plants, pots and things like that to make it really nice looking.
Yeah.
So we'll be looking at that. Obviously, it won't happen overnight, but we'll work with the DDA and see if that's workable. That could be maybe go into next year's budget or something like that. And in a year or so, we could get that to happen. I think it'd make a big difference.
Yeah, walking by there, I thought the same thing too. There's no way that you'd ever want to drive a car down that, so I like the pedestrian walkway. I think that's a great idea. So, just curiosity more than anything, or do we make the request of MDOT
Yeah,
on
basically,
behalf of the property owner?
Steve or Rich, I'm not sure who, but one of them would generally contact MDOT and get the appropriate approvals.
All right.
Who actually owns the alleyway? Is that the land, the cities, or is it?
It's actually owned by the city, and
Okay.
it's not actually called a right of way. It is considered part of that actual parking lot behind Salon
Okay.
125. So it's a little unusual in that regard.
Right.
We have at one point looked at the idea of potentially, if Richard inquired whether it would be for sale, we looked at, it wasn't something he wanted to pursue though, at this point at least.
Okay, thank you.
I guess my only input earlier was that in the event this goes, and it'll probably happen, we won't know, the day that you're doing it, but I would recommend that, because there may or may not be someone with a very small car that's been using that we're not aware of, to just put something up indicating that once that curb gets installed, maybe for a couple of weeks, just to show that now there's a curb, so that person doesn't just go dropping off of a curb when they go wheeling out in Chisholm. So, that's my advice.
Crazier.
Maybe it would be you on your motorcycle.
I was gonna say.
No, it could be somebody on a motorcycle might be using it, and we don't know that, just so they know. Otherwise, I don't have an issue.
Well, when they see that car right there parked across, then hopefully they'll stop.
Or park a car.
Yes.
Yeah, hopefully they will.
Otherwise, they'll T-bone it.
I move we approve the request to raise the curb and sidewalk at 125 East Chisholm Street.
Second.
Do we need to add that this will be Mr. Gauthier's financial, he's paying for that? Do we need to? Or is it
Probably good to have.
My understanding was the request was that if the city approved it, that Mr. Gauthier was willing to take on the cost of doing that.
Right, does that need to be part of the
I
motion?
would put it there.
I would
That way
probably
it's-
put that there, so there's an understanding later.
Sure. And let's add to that motion that this improvement will be paid for by Mr. Gauthier. I didn't have his name right out here.
Great. Hess,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Nielsen,
Yes.
Nowak,
Yes.
and Walagora.
Aye.
Motion carried.
I move we adjourn to closed session to discuss water and sewer litigation.
Second.
Johnson,
Yes.
Nielsen, yes. Nowak,
Yes?
Walagora,
Aye.
and Hess.
Yeah.
Motion carried.